According to the story in Genesis, after the worldwide flood, Noah's Ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat in modern-day Turkey. Could it possibly be that centuries later, scientists have finally unveiled new evidence about what really happened? But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. According to biblical scripts, not only did God tell Noah to bring members of his family on board, but he was also instructed to bring along other things that would be essential to repopulate the earth. Both included sample groups of different animal species that would be released to roam free after the flood. In order to survive the storm, God instructed Noah to build a massive ark, like never seen before. He was given the exact material and dimensions that would be required to build such a ship. The dimensions were 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits tall, which is equivalent to 450 × 75 × 40 45 ft. Not to mention it was 3 stories high. A Hong Kong-based group called Noah's Ark Ministries International NAMI are devoted to digging up all evidence they can find regarding Noah's Ark. While many experts don't take NAMI's findings seriously, there are some that believe that they may be onto something. One Ark hunter believes that they might have finally uncovered the key to the Ark's last known location. As exciting as these findings may be, most of their past findings, and others before them, have been debunked. Like in 1955, when a French explorer reported that he found a 5-foot wood beam beneath a glacier on Mount Ararat. While it was verified that the wood beam was about 5,000 years old, the explorer eventually admitted that he brought it from a nearby village. While most experts on the matter agree on the general location of the Ark, the Syrian tradition differs from the story told by Josephus. The Syrians believe that the Ark actually landed on Mount Judy. But Syrians believe the Ark actually landed on Mount Judy. In fact, early Christian and Islamic traditions call Mount Judy the place of descent, and Josephus said that the Ark's remains were displayed at the place of descent by Armenians in the 1st century, about 60 miles southeast of Mount Ararat. Dr. Andrew Snelling, PhD of the University of Sydney and a young Earth creationist, is another expert who doesn't believe that the Ark docked on Mount Ararat. Dr. Snelling says that it is very unlikely for it to have landed there, considering that Mount Ararat formed years after the flood. What did this masterpiece look like? Early theologians like Origen and Augustine are believed to have a clearer idea of what Noah's Ark may have looked like. What Catholic theologian Alfonso Tostado wrote an account in the 15th century describing every single detail about the Ark, and a century later, French mathematician Johannes Buteau aimed to lay out the Ark's dimensions, which many contemporary scholars subscribe to. Out of all the Mesopotamian flood stories, yes, there are a few. The one that stands out the most is the oldest one coined, the Sumerian flood story that dates back to 1600 BCE. The hero of this version is King Ziushudra, who builds a boat and tries to save the innocent after the gods decide to destroy the world. As you see, there's a strong resemblance to the story of Noah. Many wonder not only how, but why did these miraculous stories in the Bible take place? And philosophical questions of these biblical events have been hypothesized over the centuries, like why was the universe created? What is its purpose? And the same goes for the story of Noah. In a relatively recent excursion, Dr. Friedrich Parrott ascended Mount Ararat in 1829, over 500 years after Marco Polo recorded his sighting of the mountain. While Dr. Parrott did not attempt to dig up the Ark, he did, however, document how the locals felt about the legend of Noah's Ark. All the Armenians are firmly persuaded that Noah's Ark remains to this very day on the top of Ararat, and that, in order to preserve it, no human being is allowed to approach it, he said. Could it be true? As we mentioned before, NAMI Noah's Ark Ministries International believes that they found concrete evidence of the famous Ark on Mount Ararat. In 2010, a group of Chintzes and Turkish evangelicals claimed to wouldn't have found wooden artifacts that are likely to be ruins from the Ark, which would confirm, once and for all, the location of the historic ship. Had they found the breakthrough the world was looking for? Not long after the French explorer Fernand Navarre admitted to fabricating his findings, a helicopter pilot, George Green, took a shot at unveiling the whereabouts of the Ark. Green claimed that he could see the Ark from his helicopter right above Ararat, and said it's fossilized in the side of a rock cliff about 13,000–14,000 ft above sea level. Apparently, his skyview photos weren't convincing enough, as he failed to gain investment for a proper expedition. From a theologian's perspective, one of the most intriguing details about the legend is that it appears to be a microcosm of creation. There were 3 decks on the Ark, which may symbolize the 3 levels that Hebrews believed made up the world: the waters, the heavens ends, and the earth. Getting another mystery surrounding Noah's Ark regards the exact materials used to build such a structure. According to the King James Version of the Bible, the Ark was made of gopher wood. However, since there are no trees that go by the name gopher today, it's hard to verify. The New International Version of the Bible uses the term cypress wood. Although it is commonly thought that Noah rescued 2 of each animal, the Bible states differently. In one passage, it says 7 pairs of every kind of clean animal and 1 pair of every kind of unclean animal, and later 7 pairs of every kind of bird. So if you do the math, it may have actually been 14 of each animal. Some experts believe that there were as many as 2.15 million sheep in the vessel. Naturally, most are skeptical about this outrageous number, considering all the odd animals, and humans needed enough space to sleep, eat, and just live during the time they spent on the ship. Other theorists speculate that the number of animals on the ship was closer to 16,000. At 16,854 ft, Mount Ararat is the tallest peak in Turkey. Do you know that it's actually a dormant volcano? For a flood of that magnitude to take over the globe, there should be even the slightest evidence of its occurrence in the water levels in the soil. In addition to the lack of geographical evidence, scientists question the flood myth because of a lack of DNA evidence as well. If Noah and his family were the only survivors of the flood, then technically we should be able to trace DNA genealogy back to this one family over 4,600 years ago, considering that they were the ones who repopulated the earth. With so many inconsistencies in the story of Noah, it seems like we may never find out where the real ark landed after the flood. But it seems like there will always be enthusiasts out there willing to spend their time and resources until they found out. The Geoscience Research Institute Gritri put on a symposium on Mount Ararat to further the discussion. Over 100 scientists and researchers came together to combine their knowledge of the Ark, hoping to find an answer together. One of the most confusing conundrums about the biblical story is working out when exactly did it occur in the Earth's timeline. According to the story, God was fed up with the wickedness and corruption of the people that he decided to destroy the world, only sparing Noah, his family, and some animal species. Genesis states that Noah's Ark's final resting place to be the mountains of Ararat, so this leads many to believe that the Ark should be found in the place that bears the same name today. Not a far-fetched idea. The story of Noah and the Ark has high significance in Jewish, Christian, Islam, and Baha'i religions. There are many similarities between their versions of the tale, but interpretations have subtle differences among the different cultures. For example, Christian scholars compare Noah's salvation to baptism, and Muslims believe that the Ark was more like a traditional ship shaped like a bird's belly. Baha'is, on the other hand, consider the story to be purely symbolic. In April 2010, Man Fai Yuen, a NAMI researcher, said that he and the search team had actually entered a wooden structure high on Ararat, and went on to describe the different spaces in the structure. The researcher also claims that carbon dating puts the wood at 4,800 years old. Could they be onto something? NAMI stood by their discovery. Ong Wing Sheng, a filmmaker who works with the organization, said, "It's not 100% that it is Noah's Ark, but we think it is 99.9% that it is." Paul Zemansky, a Middle East specializing archaeologist of Stony Brook University, believes otherwise and sarcastically replied, "I don't know of any expedition that ever went looking for the Ark and did not in and find it. It's you who knows the truth." Esperante works steadfast to prove that Mount Ararat is in fact the true location of the Ark, and NAMI's findings is correct, and hopes that rigorous and serious scientific work will be done in the area. Once the scientific community has more conclusive data about the existence of Noah's Ark and Mount Ararat, they can finally make it available to the general public. Although Esperante has yet to release his findings, he has begged the international community to invest in his research. If he and NAMI are correct, it could be one of the most fascinating discoveries since the Rosetta Stone. Most world's scientific community doesn't see the importance in finding the Ark's resting place, but for other curious minds, this only adds fuel to their fire. They will continue to search for answers. A new documentary has hinted that ruins in the Babylon province in Iraq may be the site where the Ark was constructed, and the many bricks match the descriptions of the Tower of Babel. A series of cylinders were found in Beersheba which pieced together a huge tower. One of the narrators thinks that they may be part of the Tower of Babel due to their massive size. Ark remains been found. Another documentary revealed how Digital Globe, a space imagining company, had traveled to a Turkish mountain to take photos of what they believe are the remains of Noah's Ark. Once the exploration was complete, the researchers had some fascinating findings and space view images to share with the world from Mount Ararat. Ever since the images were released, Professor Porter Taylor of the University of Richmond has been convinced that they are reliable biblical evidence. He has stated that he has newfound optimism in this type of imagery and is calling it his satellite archaeology project.